That has worked. Nice one. What's going on, guys? And welcome back to the Saints VD Champions League content for our live preview ahead of the Leeds United clash, the last home game of the season. I'm delighted to say Liam and Josh have joined me, and we've got Oscar from All Leeds TV back on the channel. Guys, Liam, Josh, and then Oscar, how are you all doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. You?
Yeah, I'm fine. Josh?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. I'm all right.
And Oscar, of course, welcome back on the channel. How are you feeling, mate?
Not bad at all, mate. Not bad at all. A lot's changed since we last spoke.
Yeah. Well, obviously, the big talking point from this one on Tuesday night is fans are back. We're back at St Mary's. 8,000 of us cannot wait. It feels weird. It feels weird that we're kind of at the point now where the whole behind closed doors football is hopefully it's over. Hopefully we don't have to go back to a world where we're playing without fans. But we're going to bring Oscar in later, just in 5 minutes or so, when we talk about the Leeds game. But first of all, boys, I just wanted to reflect on Fulham yesterday. Back-to-back wins. Obviously, it's not been the season we've wanted in the end after this awful run of form in 2020-21. But Liam, obviously, we watched the game yesterday. What were your thoughts on it? Was it a case of good performance, or was it more the fact that, you know, it would have been an embarrassment if we'd not got a win from a side that have all been relegated?
To be fair, it's one of those games where you don't really know what the attitude's going to do, whether the players just going to turn up. I think it's an easy win because Fulham relegated. And you look at Fulham's side, they changed a lot of players. You think it should be a routine win. I think the boys did really well to it. Started on the front foot and, you know, took our chance in the end.
Yeah, I think it definitely was clinical. I think if we look at the game itself and look at the chances we had, the only one I can think of is probably, I think Minamino had a chance and he was tackled by Aina, and then I think Redmond had a good opportunity. That was a good save from Areola. But Josh, mate, we saw two substitutes score yesterday. I can't remember the last time two players came off the bench to score, but Walcott and Teller, would you be starting them on Tuesday night?
I mean, yeah, they have a big case to start. I mean, Teller was terrific. I mean, almost deserved man of the match in a way. I mean, came on, got a goal and an assist. He was terrific. And every time he stepped onto the pitch this season, I think he's looked bright and, you know, he looks really, really good. He's very direct, and we've really missed that this season, you know, with the likes of Redmond, who's quite passive, always turns backwards, same with Minamino. So Teller, it's very refreshing to see, and I'd love to see him start against Leeds. And I remember in the reverse fixture earlier on in the season, Teller was actually pretty good. So yeah,
he started, didn't he? I think that was his first. I think that was his first league start, and he was brilliant. And then we saw Adams get the other goal, 9th Premier League goal of the season. I think a lot of people have underrated Che Adams this season. If you look at it, I don't know what you think, Liam, but for me, when I saw 9 Premier League goals, that was a surprise. That kind of felt like, I thought he'd scored less than that, but 9 Premier League goals on the cusp of maybe having a double-digit season in the top flight alongside Ings. Do you reckon he's been overlooked a little bit and subject to a bit of harsh criticism this year?
Sometimes, but the thing is with Che, you look at 9 goals for the season, isn't too bad for his ability, but it should be a lot more. Like, he's got like the 4th most missed opportunities for like clear-cut opportunities in the league, which isn't good enough. And, you know, for the position we're in, and if Danny leaves, we're going to need a clinical striker. And I just don't think Che's that. But I think if he just builds his confidence, maybe. But he relies being with Danny too much. When Ingsley isn't playing, he's not that great, and he just doesn't look good on him.
Yeah, and then so Josh, mate, if you think, if Ings goes and gets himself that new contract, if he signs it, do you think that a new striker is sort of needed, or do you think that that we should be just going with the Ings-Che partnership and trying to play a bit more with that next season? You know, do you think it's good enough?
Well, ideally, Danny Ings does stay on the South Coast, and but the only problem is we don't really have great depth there. Obviously, Walcott's played there a few times. I know Nathan Teller likes to play there, but he can play on the wing also. But I'll definitely bring in a new striker, because I don't know whether Obafemi's going to, you know, get any game time next season, and the same with Lindelof, who's still quite young. So we've really missed that sort of quality, especially when Danny Ings has been injured for a lot of games this season. We've really missed that cutting edge So I think we do definitely need to be looking at strikers just for more competition as well. Like, as you said, Liam, Che hasn't looked brilliant when Danny Ings has been out. So I think it'd be a very, very good addition if we can get a clinical striker in the summer.
Well, this time last week we just lost at Liverpool, and we were saying the season's over. There's no hope. You know, it was going to be 14th, 15th finish, just really mediocre. Now, you know, we've had 2 wins in 3-4 days at home, and we're starting to look like maybe 12th is. I think 12th is definitely the highest we can finish. But Liam, do you think? Well, in my opinion, 12th says a lot more. It just sounds better, doesn't it? Obviously, it's higher. But 12th suggests that maybe we've been knocking the door of the top half. 15th sounds like we've just got out of a relegation scrap. What do you think? Do you think it's a reasonable target? Do you think it's achievable?
Yeah, I think 12th will happen. What Wolves got Everton in the eye, but we have 2 really tough fixtures with Leeds and West Ham. You know, I think the 2 games against Palace and Fulham, like we should be winning those on paper, even though how poor we've been. But like, I think the whole season's it's been so inconsistent, and that's just it with Saints. Like, I think Leeds have been consistent all season round. Like, you don't see them going on a bad patch of form, or I don't know, I haven't really seen one this season. It's like we just got to really build up, and with players coming in, stuff like that, we aren't going to be top half or Europa League team if we don't have a consistent team.
Do you think Leeds are the model then that we should be following?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Well, then that brings me nicely into our opposition insight for the game. Oscar, thanks for coming on, mate. First of all, we obviously spoke only 2.5-3 months ago. That's how mad the season was. You know, the first fixture was in February. How are you reflecting on this season? The first season back for Leeds in God knows how long. Looks like a top half finish is all but confirmed now. Expectations met, exceeded, underwhelmed. How are you feeling?
I think we've probably overachieved. I think obviously in terms of what I was expecting, I thought it would be safe. I didn't think we'd ever be struggling in terms of what we showing last season. The fact we won the league so comfortably, I think, was the big thing. I think we won it by 10 points. And it was pretty comfortable in the end the way we won the league. So the expectations were relatively high. I think the calibre of signings we've made, Rodrigo Moreno, Rafinha, Robin Koch, Diego Llorente, all quite high calibre signings compared to what we typically make in a transfer window. So that's been very impressive from us. I think, yeah, there's been moments in the season where it's been a bit, where we've been conceding goals from time to time. There was a game obviously against Manchester United just before Christmas. We lost 6-2, and it was like, wow, that was a bit of a hammering. But other than that, we've been okay. I think as Liam said, we've been pretty steady throughout the season. I think the last couple of weeks, though, we've really switched it on. I think the last couple of weeks, 1 defeat in 9 for us. But we're not under any illusions. This will be a tough game for us. I mean, only last week, 2 weeks ago now, against Brighton, we were totally outplayed. Absolutely totally outplayed. 2-0 flattered us. And I see Southampton, that similar kind of calibre of football in terms of, yes, there's weaknesses in the Southampton team. There's weaknesses in this Leeds team. But I think obviously the way Southampton play is a bit more difficult for us. You know, we've obviously very expansive. You know, I do rate some of the players you got in that team. Definitely do rate a lot of the players in that team, actually. And you're going to press. We know you're going to press. And we have made a couple of mistakes under the press this season because it's harder. It's harder than what it is in the Championship. And we've struggled in those kind of games. Brighton just pressed us off the pitch. And we really struggled to get into that one at all, to be honest. So, tough game for us. But in terms of the season overall, yeah, it's definitely exceeded expectation. Even if we lose these next 2 games, we've exceeded expectation for me. No doubt about that.
And then if we focus on to Tuesday night's game, do you think it's going to be tight then? Do you think it'll be a close one? You know, do you look at this and think, I know you said it's going to be a tough game. And, you know, we've given teams, even during this awful run, a good run for their money. We gave you guys a good run for your money in the first half.
I mean, to be fair, the first goal we got completely changed. I think the first half, because we scored all the 3 goals in the second half, I actually thought you were a better team first half. Meslier had to make some big saves. I think there was a potential penalty, I think. Was it Llorente about 20 minutes into the game?
I think there was a penalty. I think Adams put
It
the
wasn't
ball
a
in
penalty,
the net.
but it was quite a tense first half for that for us. It was a bit like the Burnley game yesterday in terms of had you score first, it doesn't play out that way. We probably in an uphill battle at that point, but I expect it to be quite an open game. To be honest, I think both teams have got little to play for. I think it benefits both teams. Obviously, you hit the goals yesterday. You got 3 goals yesterday. 2 wins and 3 for you guys. I think, to be fair, I think you guys are starting to play that little bit more freedom now. Obviously, you know you're safe. It's just a case of finish as high as you can. A couple of players who are coming in want to. I don't know how many. If you got any players out of contracts or anything like that, any kind of
Bertrand, Bertrand's leaving.
Trying to play themselves, into another year on the contract, another 2 years on the contract. That'll be, or even some players might even be putting themselves in the shop window. I think that's been the case of both teams. I certainly don't think Southampton, have been where they are on the table, and obviously form second half of the season would suggest that next season you're going to struggle in terms of momentum. But I don't see that. I don't see that at all. I think Hasenhüttl's a good manager. I think I do like Hasenhüttl, to be fair. Similar in a way to Bielsa in terms of how he sees the game. And I've got respect for Southampton. Every single team you play to win. That might sound like a basic, but most teams in the bottom half, outside the top 6, they probably wouldn't. And I respect that for Southampton. I think sometimes you've been unlucky.
Yeah.
I think you'll be better next season, to be honest. I do personally think you'll kick on. I think you'll get the summer recruitment right. I'm not too sure about the signings you made in January, to be fair. I think obviously Minamino, I've not been particularly convinced by since he's turned up. To be fair, I think that might have been a little bit of a mistake, that kind of signing. But yeah, I think you'll get it right in the summer, to be fair. I do think so.
Well, I hope you're right. But I was looking at Leeds' results, and I'm just blown away by how many results you guys have gotten against the so-called Big Six. I mean, in your first year back, do you think that's the area for improvement? Because you mentioned that defeat to Brighton, just trying to find a bit of consistency, because there have been wins against Spurs, a good point against Liverpool. I was looking at it. Obviously beat Man City away from home. I think it was 10 men. Yeah, that was massive, massive results. And then you go to the Amex and lose 2-0 to Brighton. Do you think that's the main area for improvement next year if Leeds are to kick on?
We're a really strange team, because our record against teams, I think from 14th downwards, it's something like that. It's either 13th or 14th downwards. Our record is something like 33 from 36, I think it is, or it might be 30 from 33. No, sorry, it'll be 30 from 36 because we've only dropped 6 points against Brighton. Everyone else we've beaten home and away in terms of who are around Brighton and below Brighton. So we've been good in that kind of sense. It's more the teams like kind of in and around mid-table, to be fair. Kind of like Aston Villa's, we lost to Villa at home. West Ham, we lost home and away. So it's just improving maybe in that kind of regard. And to be fair, they've been quite tight games. I think it's a case of we need to get our recruitment right in certain areas. We've kind of played the whole season without a number 10. We've played the whole season without an out-and-out left-back. So that's obviously 2 areas where we can work on. I think in those kind of games, maybe where you want a number 10 to open up the game a little bit, that's maybe where we've been lacking sometimes in those kind of tighter games against Aston Villa. And that's the way it goes sometimes. But it's hard to say, really. It's not really been like a specific... sometimes you see with teams like they're awful against the top 6, they're great against the bottom half. We're kind of decent with everything at the minute. It's just... I think it's easier said than done being consistent in this league. I really do, because the quality difference is massive. I think in the Championship, you can put together 6 or 7 wins in a row without thinking. You can just get that momentum playing Saturday, Tuesday. Everyone's confident, everyone's buzzing. But in the Premier League, less games, less momentum, tougher opponents. It's hard to build any momentum. So it's hard. I think next season we can kick on again. I genuinely do think we can kick on again. But I am wary about the second season. Theory and that lot, second season syndrome, all this lot. And you've seen it with Sheffield United this season. You've seen it with teams in the past. So I'm just going to wait and see who we sign. But I am pretty positive, to be fair. Probably going into this summer has probably been the most exciting summer in my lifetime, being a Leeds fan, to be honest, in terms of what we're looking at and what we could get.
And what are the areas to address, do you think? Where you mentioned left back, you haven't had an all in that.
Yeah,
we need a left back as well. where would be the positions that Leeds needs to strengthen this year or this summer?
Well, I think, left back's definitely number one, because it looks like who has been playing left back is out of contract and isn't going to renew the contract, Johnny Alioski.
Same with us. Exactly the same situation. Bertrand's leaving, yeah.
I mean, we're not...
Do you think you need a spare number 6? Because Calvin Phillips is do you think you need a spare number 6? Because Calvin Phillips is injured a lot this season. Like, you struggle to play without him.
Absolutely. The record with and without Calvin Phillips speaks for itself, really. It absolutely speaks for itself. But I think, obviously, we've had a lot of injuries at the back as well, so we've had to move things around all the time. So sometimes Calvin's had to play a bit more further back. Sometimes we've had to play centre-backs in his spot kind of thing. But we have found, hopefully, a solution in Robin Koch in terms of in the CDM role. He is primarily a centre-back, but he has stepped up in that holding midfield role in the last couple of weeks, particularly the big games against Tottenham. He came in, did a fantastic job in that game. Actually, Calvin Phillips was on the bench against Tottenham, which was amazing, but he had just come back from injury. Against Man United, he came on. Against Paul Pogba, he just came on just to nullify Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes. Did a great job. Against Man City, Bernardo Silva did a great job and played a big part in those wins. So I'll be honest, Liam, going into the last international break before this last sort of 10 games spell, I was absolutely really nervous in terms of Calvin, because the problem with Calvin Phillips is he is, I wouldn't say injury prone, but the way he goes into tackles and that lot, he does tend to pick up suspensions, injuries, a lot of impact injuries, the way he goes into tackles. So it's always a risk. He's one of those players that I don't think we'll probably get 30 games out of rather than 38 games, if that makes sense, this season. You've always got a bank for having about 10 games or so of him missing, but hopefully we've found that solution. Now, whether we're going to go for a natural CDM, I don't know, to be honest, but I think Robin Koch's form might have changed the thinking a little bit, because we've got 4 really good centre-backs. If that has to drop down to 3 for Robin Koch to cover there, then so be it. But we've had some horrendous luck with injuries, but everyone's got the same problem, haven't they, really, with so many games in such a short space of time. But I think, obviously, left-back, number 10 is what I think we'll definitely do. There's been a little bit of talk about will we bring in another centre-forward, but Rodrigo Moreno's form's been fantastic off the bench. I think it's 3 goals in 44 minutes, I think, or something mad like that from Rodrigo. So I don't personally think we will go for a centre-forward. We always get a winger in. I think Victor Orta, our director of football, head of recruitment, who makes all the signings, he loves a winger. We are struggling probably the most, for me. Again, we have a lot of arguments about this on our channel, but for me, we're struggling the most in terms of depth behind Rafinha and Harrison. When they are out, the drop-off in quality is absolutely humongous kind of thing. We've got Ian Pervader, who's only 21, just come from Man City last winter, actually. Not really showing anything yet, but the potential's there, but not someone you can say, yeah, he can play 10, 15 games next season. Helder Costa, again, mostly flatter to deceive. So I personally think we will get a winger, left back, number 10, and goalkeeper. Goalkeeper's a bad situation because Kiko Casilla, you'll probably know about Kiko Casilla in that lot. We just want him out. It's been done for probably about 18 months now. He just needs to go. Better for him, better for the club, better for all parties. He just needs to go. But unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be doable because he's on about 45 grand a week, which is a lot for a backup keeper for a mid-table Premier League team. So I'm hoping we get a backup keeper in. So probably for those 4 signings, really. But it's exciting because I genuinely don't really know, other than left back number 10, what we're going to do. So it's quite exciting. But I think we'll definitely get one of those 2 in, because if we don't, it makes all the interviews that Angus Kinnear's given and Victor Orta's given look absolutely meaningless, because they've just hinted it pretty much the last 3 months, kind of saying, we know we've not got a natural left back. Don't worry, don't panic. We'll get in that. It's basically just been the message because we're quite demanding as a fan base from time to time. But I'm really looking forward to it. If we have the same budget as last summer, we spent 100 million, pretty much unheard of since our financial ruin for us to do that. So yeah, hopefully it's a similar budget, to be fair, this summer.
Yeah, well, that's obviously talking about players to come in. Talk about players now. Who do you think are going to be the main threats for Southampton on Tuesday night? Who's available, and who are you expecting to be the main problems for Saints?
From our team, for you guys.
No, from Leeds' team, yeah.
From Leeds' team. I mean, we've got to start, I think, first of all, with Rafinha and Jack Harrison. I think, obviously, Rafinha has been probably is our best player, if I'm being honest. The one player we'll look at and think, along with Calvin Phillips, who has got the potential to be genuinely world-class. And I don't say world-class lightly. He has got that potential to be world-class in 2 or 3 years' time if he carries on with this kind of trajectory. Very, very exciting player. Hopefully we keep hold of him. But yeah, he's a big threat tomorrow. I think he's a big threat on Tuesday night, I think Jack Harrison as well. I think when Harrison and Rafinha are on the pitch together, they just bring the best out of each other. One's a left footer on the left wing, normally Harrison. The other's a bit more inverted, so can kind of drift in field a little bit more, but we keep the width on the other side. So the attack really in sync very much. I'd imagine it'll still be Patrick Bamford up top instead of Rodrigo, despite Rodrigo's form, as I just mentioned. I think it will still be Patrick Bamford, but Bamford's always a threat. He's always a threat. He's had a bit of a goal scoring, I think it's 1 in 8, I think he's on at the minute, but he's still a threat, in terms of he can still pop up for goal against you guys. Mateus Klick's a player who's kind of played himself into form last two games or so. Calvin Phillips is the obvious one. And at the back, Diego Llorente's absolutely been a revolution at the back. He's completely transformed the defence on his own. In terms of, you only have to look at the record before and after, and he's got a very good sidekick alongside him in Pascal Strauch. So, yeah, I think, and I've mentioned Ilan Meslier as well. It's a very exciting time as being a Leeds fan in terms of, normally when I'm doing this, I'll probably just mention 2 players, but we're a team more than anything. I think Rafinha is probably the standout, but other than that, everyone else is just consistently being very good. Sort of last 10 games, they've been consistently 7, 8 out of 10. So it's all the foundations are there. But when Rafinha's missing, you can definitely tell. So he's in the team. We're a different team.
I was going to ask you if you predicted lineup after that, but I think now you've pretty much covered most of it.
But Bielsa sticks. Will not make many changes. We don't make many changes to the team. To be fair, we definitely won't rotate as far as we're concerned.
Well, then I'll bring Liam in. Sorry, mate.
Probably be like the same team like they played against Burnley then.
Yeah, I think so. You guys are 2 up top, aren't you? You go 2 up top, don't you?
Yeah.
We always go to a 3 at the back. Whenever someone goes to 2 up top, we always go 3 we always want an extra centre back to what you've got centre forward. So we'll definitely go 3. To Liam, I'm pretty expectant that it will be exactly the same team, to be honest, and same bench.
Yeah, I'll
be quite surprised.
Like Calvin Phillips, he just plays in front of the 2 centre backs and basically makes it a 3. Because I'm sure
that's pretty much what happens. Well, that's it. I mean, we start the game off like as a 3, and then it'll change to a 4. It just depends on the game state and how the game's going. Really, we can switch from one to the other. And I think even at home against you guys, we started with like a 3 at the back, and then we kind of made a couple of changes. I think Helder Costa came on in that game, and then we went to a back 4. And we do adapt quite a bit. We do rotate a little. I think even yesterday we started off with a 4 and then changed to a 3. And so I'd expect it'll be the same personnel, but not necessarily in the same position for the whole game. You might be watching us from time to time and thinking, "Where's he playing? Where's Dallas playing? Where's he playing?" There's not really a position as such. It's just roles kind of thing. There's no like specific position. So you'll see our left back Alioski. He'll go and mark your left back kind of thing. It'll look absolutely crazy from time to time. At the start of the season, it was just all over the place kind of thing in terms of defensively, but we've actually really sorted ourselves out defensively, to be fair, but it will look a bit all over the place from time to time from us.
Well, I'll bring Liam and Josh in because I want to go through our predicted lineup, lads. Not too many changes from Palace on Saturday for Fulham, but we'll start off in goal because obviously at the moment, Oscar, we're rotating keepers. It's a really weird one. I personally, I don't get it. McCarthy was dropped for Forster, had 10 games Forster or whatever, and then now it's back and forth with McCarthy and Forster. But Liam, Forster and McCarthy, who's it going to be tomorrow or Tuesday even?
Fraser.
You think Fraser? Okay, Josh, you think Forster?
Well, they said they were rotating. I think Forster had 2 games, and now I think McCarthy's going to have 2 games. So I think it will be McCarthy on Tuesday.
Okay. I don't know. I really don't know. I think I'd probably, if it was me, I'd probably give McCarthy another game. But I think that's definitely we've said before on the channel. I think it's an area for improvement in the summer. But then in terms of a back 4, for me, I would be expecting unchanged. Salisu left back. And then Stevens, Vestergaard, I think they played quite well together yesterday. And then Walker Peters. Liam, do you if Bednarek was fit, we obviously haven't seen the press conference yet. if Bednarek was fit, do you think you'd be playing him, or do you think Salisu should stay in there and Stevens even?
I think Bednarek needs a rest. I wouldn't play him for the rest of the season. Yeah, I'd probably go for like the same back four with Walker Peters, Stevens, Vestergaard, and Salisu, because I thought they were pretty much all pretty good on Saturday. And what you'll tend to find with us, Oscar, is because obviously we haven't got a recognised left back, we will play as a free back with possession. Then we'll play as a 4-2-2 when we haven't got it. So there's always just a variant like you have with Leeds. So you'll probably see that from us.
And then looking at the midfield pivot, obviously we've seen Armstrong and Ward-Prowse. Was it 3-4 games together now? I think, starting with the Leicester game. Should we keep that? Should we keep going with it? Do we give Diallo a go, Josh? Like, what are you thinking? Because it's 2 games now. I mean, obviously we've said we want to finish 12th. We want to finish as high as possible, but surely that's not going to be how we go about things next season with those 2 in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, we have missed your Armstrong on the wide areas actually, but I mean, Armstrong's ran his socks off the past few games, and I reckon he'll probably be given a rest at least in the pivot role next to Ward-Prowse, because he often does get subbed off around the 70th minute mark, 80th minute mark, because he does look a little bit leggy towards the end. So I think Ralph would probably give Diallo a start on Tuesday, seeming we just played on Saturday. So I reckon it'll be Ward-Prowse and Diallo in that pivot position.
And do you think it's fair that Diallo's been almost? I guess you can say now he's been dropped. I know he's a young lad and he came in for Romeo, but he looks bright. From what I've seen of him, do you really think, like, I don't know, do you think it's been good management of him? Do you think it's been a little bit unfair? What's your take, Josh?
Yeah, I think the first half of the season, every time he played, he looked fantastic, to be fair. And then in the FA Cup semis, he looked a little bit off the mark.
He was out of his depth in that game.
Yeah.
And
he came on against Fulham, and he wasn't terrific. So I don't know. I mean, Ralph has mentioned before he was fasting, so maybe that had, something to do with it. But I don't know. I think I'd expect Diallo to come back in the middle, seeming he didn't start on Saturday. So.
And then in terms of the strikers, I'm pretty convinced it'll be Adams and Ings once again. But I think you could argue that the most sort of the area most subject to debate is definitely the 2 wingers, the 2 wide men. For me, I think Ralph's going to go for Teller and Walcott, only because the goals on Saturday, it keeps it fresh a little bit. Redmond's done Soddle, Minamino's done Soddle the last couple of games when they've been given starts. I think those, look, we've got plenty to say about Walcott, but for Teller, he has to start surely, mate. Liam.
Yeah, I think Teller should for Redmond, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's not, because what we've tended to do, like I said, like when we're on the ball, your left wing is kind of like your left wing back. I'm not sure about that being Teller, because he's not really experienced in that kind of play. I think we'd see probably Redmond and Teller, which I wouldn't be too bad on. I'd only say Redmond because of that like kind of left wing back role when we've got the ball. So yeah, I don't think Theo should start. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't really mind if he did. I just think I'd rather have Teller and probably Redmond, or like you said, Teller and Theo.
And do you think Gineppo's got any sort of a chance of starting, Josh?
Ralph does like Gineppo playing on the wing, because obviously he's got really good stats in terms of tackling success, and I think he's made one of the most tackles in our team this season, which is quite a strange stat, but it's there. Yeah, I don't think Gineppo will probably. I don't think he'll start. I reckon it'll probably be, if Armstrong doesn't start in the pivot, he'd probably go Armstrong and probably Nathan Teller on the wing. But as I said before, Ralph likes Teller up front, but you can't really drop Adams or Ings, so that's the issue. So
I think Ings come off today just to be rested, because he's only just come back from injury, and he was probably
Danny Ings has to start this game. Danny Ings, when he's fit, absolutely has to start this game.
Yeah.
It's Sunday as well against West Ham.
I don't know about that.
You didn't see him last time out. That's why we lost 3-0.
He's on the bench.
Was it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was actually.
He was
yeah.
on the bench, but weird management that. But okay, so it sounds like we're in the general consensus that it's definitely going to be Ings and Adams up front, and then anyone out wide. But just to wrap up, anyone on the wing basically. But just to wrap up, guys, I'll get score predictions from Liam and Josh first. Actually, I'll go first. I'll take that. But for me, I'm going to go draw. I think it's going to be 1-1. I think I'll be a little bit too confident, even though we've won our last 2 games. Like you said earlier, Liam, we're 2 poor sides, really. Sides that we should be beating. This is going to be the toughest test out of the 3 home games. But I think we can manage. I think, me being an optimist, I'd like to think that the fans might make a little bit of an impact. That might boost the players a little bit, give them that urge to go on and go get a good result. But I think we'd be naive to sit here and say that we're going to go win this game, only because of how good Leeds are and how good their form is at the moment. But I think a point would be a good result. I'm going to go 1-1. Liam, what are you thinking?
I don't know. I'm in two minds. I think if we have to be at our best to beat Leeds. We could either get smashed like we did last time in the second half or get a draw. But I'm going to be positive for once, and I'm going to say we're going to win 2-1 to have a bit of a feeling.
Nice. Josh?
I think it's going to be a really open game. I remember in the reverse picture in the first half, it was so open. We had, 3-4 chances in the first half an hour, and so did Leeds. So
Romeo tackle of the season.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm expecting a similar sort of game, just purely because of the styles that both teams opt to play. So I'm going to go for a high-scoring game. I'm probably going to go for a 2-2. I think it's going to be a very
I've just seen Nick in the comments has put 3-3. To be honest, I could see it. I honestly
we
could
have
see
got 3 goals in our last 2 home games, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, we'll see. And then to wrap up, Oscar, how are you feeling for the game? And can I push you for a prediction?
Yeah, I think it'll be definitely closer than the last one. I think there definitely won't. It's not likely that we're going to run away with the game again. I can't see that. I think you saw from that first half, both teams are pretty even. I back us at the minute. I just think we're slightly better at the back at this moment in time. I'm going to go 2-1, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's a 3-2, 3-3, 4-3 kind of game. To be honest, it wouldn't surprise me.
Have you got any sort of concern? Have you got any sort of concern that the home side have got 8,000 fans behind them?
Yeah, it makes a difference. It's going to be different for us as well. I think it's. I think it'll be a big boost for you guys. It'd be weird. It'll always be weird. Like it's been like 50.
It'll be weird. Yeah, it will be weird.
It's
like if that's the other thing as well, because I was thinking about this earlier. It's like if Bamford, or whoever scores, I was just Bamford or whatever. No one's going to be celebrating. It's just going to be eerily dead quiet.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Except
Yeah,
for maybe the dugout. It'll be weird. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a good game. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in. Thank you guys for joining us. Oh, you all right, mate?
Yeah, sorry about
that. I think that's a good place to wrap up. Like I said, thank you guys for joining. Thanks for tuning in if you have, or if you're watching it after the stream. And yeah, up the Saints, and hopefully we can sign off from at home with a win.
See you later. We'll come back on.